All right, how's everybody doing? My name's Griffin, and welcome to the Mandarins Dragon audio walkthrough for the summer. This is everything we're going to be using for the summer 2025 and the production If I Must Fall. Coming to you today from Family Day. We're in the middle of move-ins right now and looking towards tour starting in Seattle in a couple weeks. So I'm going to walk you through everything that we've got going here as far as mixer carts, speaker carts, what we're doing in the synth cart, what kind of mics we got on all our instruments, etc., etc. Before we do that, big shout out to PI, our cart sponsor. We're using their extended triple mixer cart, center carts, some speaker stacks. We'll look at all those later. Obviously all of our synth carts. We love our friends at PI. All of our stuff has been working flawlessly. They got some new GSXs we're going to look at later. It's great. So to start us off, this is kind of the business end of what we're working with. We got an SQ7 at the head, and then we're running all of our stuff through this except for our keyboards that we'll talk about in just a second. SQ, great, solid, little bit more affordable console that we're working with. We are maxing this guy out this summer. So we've got 10 channels of RF. We're running some field mics, some synths, some 404 lines, some timpani, a lot of DCAs for all of our other stuff. This is all of our mic channels, obviously drum sets, some rack things. We love the SQ because it's got completely customizable strip assignments, so we can move everything around as we need to. We try and stay on one layer for the whole show. Another thing that's cool about SQ that makes this just really easy for us is we actually have some communication channels and ways to talk back and forth with the rest of our ensemble coordinators and our synth players over there and our A1 who's here up front. So we like to do that using a couple channels. So over here, I'm going to talk to our friends Cole and Anthony. Say hi, Cole and Anthony.
Cole and Anthony.
And they're routed right through our center channel right now. So that's on our synth cart. Having a microphone on our synth cart and a talkback helps us just be two-way communication from the box down to the synth players during ensemble, so we can adjust things through main stage. We can ask them to play a little bit differently and not get in the way of ensemble. Super helpful. Down here on the bottom of the cart, we've got a couple things. So obviously we've got lots of drawers. We keep all of our tools and everything in here, field mics over there. But the kind of fun techie side of it, we've got 10 channels of Shure ULX over here. One of those is our God mic, which is just a Shure SM58, a wireless one. That's how our ensemble director talks to us at all the times. And then we have 9 other channels of wireless that we're running for all of our brass solos. We're not really doing too much brass enhancement this year. We're kind of getting into that now finally, but we really like and pride ourselves at Mandarins that we are mostly just wireless solos, and the brass sound that you hear is the brass and a couple field mics on the field. Switch for our wireless and also our Mac Mini, which is here, and a couple other things that are networked around. That gets us the capability to have Shure wireless workbench up on our monitor here, and then also communicate with our synth cart so we can screen share main stage. Also, we have a Jackery over here. This is the Explorer 1000. We can leave our synth card on this year for like 12 hours on this guy. It's really great. It makes syncing wireless at shows so much easier. And that's that. Obviously, power conditioner. Another UPS is a fail-safe just because the technical failover time for this is not really fast enough for data. So we have this as like a long-term battery. And then that helps us just keep everything running smoothly in the event that we lose power or this dies or something. Other thing we've got down here, this is a little Anchor speaker, portable Bluetooth one, but we use the 1/8 inch jack in on this. This is how we talk to our ensemble coordinator up front, and if you'll kind of follow me around, you can start to see how a lot of this stuff is wired. Obviously, we'll start here before we get to the back. This is our flow feeds and our power in, so we take 30 amp from our 7,000 watt generator on the side one. Flow feeds here, we get 6 flow feeds that feed up to the top, and then we have a media out so that our media team, thanks Thomas, by the way, behind the camera, can get a stereo feed from our mixer at all times, and then breakers that send everything to the side. And then last fun thing from the back, while we're still talking about that little mini speaker, we have our audio and data outputs. I'll talk more about this when we get to the speaker carts in just a moment, but each of these goes to a side or the center or the center fill, which is another thing. And then in the back here, little bit of a mess at the moment because we got a lot of changes we made the last couple days, but this is our PSM. This is how we talk to the box in the back. And then we have a Sound Tools cat rack, and this is how we disperse all of our different output channels to each of the speaker stacks. So we'll get to that in just a second. And last but not least, we have our trusty wireless everything and a fan. I get a lot of questions about the fan actually, and this is kind of a fun one. The fan does not keep us cool during ensemble. You would think it does, but it really doesn't have much of a help in that when it's really hot in Fresno or Central California or Texas or anything like that. But the fan is directly tied into the AC, so if during a show we lose power, I can't tell that just based on the board. I might not hear it when the UPS is beeping, but if the fan doesn't blow, something's wrong with the generator. A little bit of a tip for you. All right, and next we're gonna head over to our speaker carts and our synth carts. All right, so next up we've got our arrays of RCF speakers and then our PI carts. So starting off here in the center, we've got just a basic RCF 15-inch speaker here. This is a little bit of our judge mix. So this one is not intended to get up to the box or anything, but percussion judges standing in front of a front ensemble, we love for them to get a little bit of the sound design. So they're running through the center speakers from the synths. Fun thing about this speaker is this is actually also a rehearsal speaker for our front ensemble. So this just has a basic power con out, and then also audio in. And we have the same patching from our mixer cart as we do on our synth cart, so they can take this to rehearsal and rehearse to their heart's content without needing the system, so that the audio team can work on other stuff, and we don't have to just burn generator gas all the time. Runs great off of their jackery that's the same as the one we have in the mixer cart, so that's that. We love this little setup, and it's much better than what we were running before. Little PI cart doesn't really get in the way. Awesome. Next thing, we're gonna walk over to our PI carts, the big stacks. On the outsides, we have two of the new GSX models, and on the insides, we're rocking the older models, and they're working great. You can tell this has been through a couple seasons of drum corps. Just kidding, no you can't. Still looks great, nice powder coated black. On top, we've got three boxes of RCF HDLA 28As, and then the accompanying 8004 active subwoofer model. These run RDNet, the subwoofer does not, but these run RDNet, so we do a lot of our tuning and high pass filters through RDNet on these. They do have a data in and signal link and everything on the back. And then the outsides, same thing. These stacks are right now on the 37.5, and then those sit on the 20s. And the way that we get signal around on the back of these speaker stacks is kind of the fun part. Instead of running a bunch of different channels and XLR or a multi-pin cable, we're actually just using a Cat5. So this is analog audio over Cat5e. We use specifically ProCat from Elite Core, excuse me. So the way that this works is we have the accompanying Sound Tools Cat rack in our mixer cart, and that shoots 4 channels of audio to either side. So this end tops is a channel, an output channel on our board. The subs for the insides are an output channel. The center is an output channel as well. That's not on this box, of course. And then the outsides have their own channel too. So we have independent control over the insides, the outsides, and the subs from the insides, just to help us get everything nice and clean. We don't like to have too much sound kind of projecting from the middle. And this just means that we can have one cable for audio and one cable for power to each of the speaker stacks. It's really easy. The members don't have any trouble plugging anything in, and it makes this setup super clean, right? So same thing on the outsides, as I mentioned, same thing on the other side as well. We run all of our arrays for the whole season kind of on the same angle. We could get super scientific about it, but we're prepped for Lucas Oil in June, so we don't have to worry about that. We like to make sure that we're just keeping everything clean and consistent. We don't like to tinker too much with the audio. Make it sound good, don't get in the way of the core, make the front ensemble sound nice. That's our whole job here. So after this, we're gonna head over to our Rover and drum set cart. First off, big thanks to our new friends at Yamaha this year. We've got keyboards, drum sets, everything else supplied by Yamaha. It's been great miking up these instruments this year. Sounds awesome. First on our drum set cart here, we've got pretty standard amount of mics and mic placements and everything. So we've got our awesome Shure Beta 91 up front, in the kick drum that is, and then we've also got a 57 on the snare, easy peasy, Sennheiser E604s on the toms, and then we're also running a Rode NT5 on the hi-hat up top, and then an under from the ride mic. That just gives us a little bit of projection when we want a little bit more of that stick contact sound, a little bit more ride wash. It makes it easy. And same thing as our speakers and as our keyboards, which you'll see in a little bit. We've got 2 of the 4-channel analog audio over Ethernet boxes on here, so that gives us all 6 of our drums and 2 of our cymbals. So the drum set actually plugs in to our Rover with just 2 cables. So it's really, really easy. The amount of cabling that we have going onto the field is super quick. For a drum corps, we've got 64-ish channels running right now, give or take, depending on if we add stuff or take stuff away. So it's really important that we don't have to plug in 64 cables when we go onto a field. So drum set, that's great. Another PI cart, by the way. Love this PI cart. It's got lots of room, and it makes cable managing really easy with the kind of 2-level side rails. So next thing up, we've got our Rover cart. This we call the Rover affectionately, but a lot of different ways to name it. Most people call this a rack mixer cart. This is basically just 10 U's of storage space inside of a little chassis. And we use this to get all of our front ensemble channels into the mixer. So we have an Allen Heath GX 4816 stage box here. The weird thing about our setup this year is because of our channel count, we're also submixing. I'll show you that on the back side in just a little bit. But essentially, all of the front ensemble mics come into these cat racks, and then they get split out to either the submixer in the back or this this stage box up front. And then all of that just gets fed down to our mixer. So again, we've only got 8 cables being plugged in for all of our front ensemble when we roll in, with the exception of a couple daisy chains along the way, but only 8 cables have to get plugged into here. Makes it a really clean front ensemble alley. Here's that little submixer. This is an Allen Heath CQ20B, which is one of their newer lines of really small form factor mixers. This is where all of our keyboards run into. So we've got our 5 marimbas and our 4 vibraphones. They all get submixed into here, and then all of that gets fed on 2 stereo lines or 4 input channels onto our 4816. That just to help out with the channel count. We were over the 48 of the SQ7, but it's really easy. Allen Heath software is really easy to work with, and we have this also attached. It has its own Wi-Fi network. We can also run that into the main network that we have set up on the mixer cart. But we can monitor this from front of house, make any changes we need, but most of our marimba EQ and vibraphone EQ happens here, and then we do any additional stuff that we need on an SQ. We really don't have to touch this during a show. So really easy. Another thing from PI that makes this even nicer is the back rails that we've got installed here, so we can just leave this, we leave it covered during a show, no problem at all. You can also kind of see how we're routing some of our ins and outs. So this side is the in, power in, and then data in from our mixer cart. And then this side is the same but inverse, so that's our data out and our power out to our synth carts, which we're going to talk about in a second. And then these two, the blue and purple, are the same cat racks from the drum set that we talked about earlier. He plugs into the side, and then that just makes it a little bit easier, a little bit less of a mess up front from the Rover cart. And then now we're going to walk around and talk a little bit about some of our keyboards. Since I'm standing right here, I'll talk about the timpani. We're using 2 Pro 37s for the timpani. Timpani player is awesome this year. Super happy to finally have timpani back on the field with Mandarins. We're trying not to be too strange about the timpani miking. We don't have to do extra, no 8 channels, no anything. 2 mics gets us across plenty, and we get nice even coverage from all of that with a little bit of EQ, a little bit of dialing from there. And then we'll walk around to our synth carts here since we're standing here. Synth carts, same thing as I mentioned before. We've got a couple patch panels on either side, and these are getting us all the information we need from each synth to each other, and then also the center cart to the front, as I mentioned before. 2 synth carts here. We've got the bigger one that has all of our main stage rig and all of our stage box plugs, everything that we need over there. Smaller one just runs a MIDI controller. We have these Galaxy hotspot monitors. I like these much better than what other people are using in the activity mostly. They hold up better, they sound a little bit better. Each of these synth carts also has a dedicated bus channel from our mixer that we can talk back to them, as I mentioned before, and then they also can play independently of the mixer as well. So the way that that works is our synth cart 1 over here has another Allen Heath 16/8 stage box. This is a DX16/8, and then a Play Audio 1U. What this does is this creates a redundant setup inside of our synth cart, so we have 2 Macs at any time that can be up. Right now we've got just the 1 plugged in as we work through our main stage file and everything. We've got the 2 Macs that can be up at any time, and our synth MIDI controller runs through a Mio box up front here. It's a little guy right here. So that Mio box takes our MIDI signal from both of our MIDI controllers and then splits it to both of our Macs. Those Macs can then take that MIDI signal obviously in main stage and then make audio out of that. But if either one of the Macs goes down, this has an automatic failover to the second computer, so we shouldn't have any problems this summer. Also in this fun synth cart that we're working with is this stage box. This has all of our synth ins, which you can see here, these 6 channels. Talkback, which I already talked about, and then outputs, that's going to get us all the ins and outs we need. But additionally, we've got some field mics here. So our field mics that we have, we're running 5 this year. They're Rode NT5s. Those just come plug in here, and then the other couple we've got, well, I'll show you in a minute, they plug into a couple other instruments on their cat boxes, and that just means that we don't have to run any giant cables throughout the front ensemble or the front sideline of the field. Nothing over 50 foot, really, really easy. Other fun thing about this setup is we have, it's not up right now because we're not tinted, it's quite hot, but we have external monitors over on the Synth 2 cart. And some of these lines, which you'll see in just a moment, I'll let Thomas get a zoom in on that, is a cat line that has a KVM on it. And so that means that we can have computer, mice, keyboard, external monitor, everything on the Synth 2 cart that can control the Synth 1 cart's rigs, since the Macs are all going to be in here. And then we also have another cat line that does all the audio, so I can send audio from the Play Audio by itself. They can have their monitors and all their synth sounds and everything dedicated without the mixer, the whole system there. Makes them really, really independent. So with just the jackery and just a couple cables and a couple fun tricks, we can make sure that the synths can operate. They can go sit in a parking lot for 8 hours if they want to and play to their heart's content and not have to deal with anything like that. You'll also see a 404 up top here. We're using that mainly as a backup, just kind of a hardware backup to make sure that we've got samples for some of our fun sections this year. Really electronic heavy show, which I'm super excited about, of course, and that just means that we don't have to worry about anything failing, and if we do, we've always got a B plan and a C plan and not have to worry about anything else. So, other zoom in that we'll get kind of here, since we're standing here, are those cables. So really, really simple setup. We've got power in, power out. Those come from the Rover. And we've got the 5-pin MIDI. We like 5-pin MIDI over USB. 2 cat cables, and then again, the power in for this cart. And that's how we talk between the 2 carts. And the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna walk over to some of the keyboards, talk about those, and then we'll wrap it up for the day. All right, so last but not least, we've got these cab boxes also on our marimbas and vibraphones. This is how we make that 8 cables into the Rover work. Each of the marimbas, with an exception by the timpani, each of the marimbas has a box on it, and their friend next to them just plugs in their 2 XLR cables. And then this 1 cat cable is what runs over to the Rover. So we've got those on the marimbas, we've got those on the vibes, we've got those on the drum set. We also have those on our rack and our xylophone over here. Same idea, our field mics plug into the xylophone and the Glock setup, and then we have this rack set up here. And if Thomas, you'll pan over a little bit. This one on the rack is really fun. So it has a field mic input here, but also what we're doing for our rack this year, because it's so electronic heavy, it's also very metal instrument heavy. You can see above me. We have a Shure Beta 52 on the bottom. That's getting some impact drum sounds. So if you hear some really, really nice kick drum sounding sounds this summer, that's where we're getting some of them. And then we've got a couple overheads and underheads hanging out here. We're using NT5s and a couple combinations of like a Pro 37 and a spot or 2 to get all of these metal sounds from our rack player. Super excited about all the instruments we're able to add. Thanks again to Zildjian for all the cymbals, as if we didn't have enough, and Yamaha for all the drums. Miking these instruments has been super sweet. Last but not least, we just make sure we give all our shout outs for the summer. So like I said, Zildjian, Vic Firth, which you'll see all over there, right? PI for all of our carts. Big shout out to our audio team. Like I said, we've got Anthony and Cole and Reed over there. We're missing Mike and Spencer right now, and then our great system design, Eric Cosman. And then last shout out, Brian McKenzie, who we're missing this summer. Miss you, man. Thanks again from Mandarins. Thanks again from the audio team. Wave one more time. Thanks to the front ensemble for sounding so sweet, and thanks to our media team for capturing this summer. We'll see you on the road. Go check us out at all of our Mandarins Instagram. Everything that you need to know is there. Come see us at a show near you. We've got a nice long tour, and come check our production, If I Must Fall, this summer before August 9th. See us at finals.